So we are now just 1.5 weeks before the 2022 MLS regular season is about to begin, and I thought this would be a perfect time for me to start doing video that's going to be related for the upcoming regular season. And we begin with talking about each Western Conference team and what is one hole that they still need to fill for this upcoming season, because every single team, there's still one major hole that they need to fill in the roster, and that includes some of the best team in the league. There's always something that they need to, of course, fill up or make some signing to fix the roster hole that they had for the upcoming season. So, like I said, we're going to start with the Western Conference, and then tomorrow I'll do the Eastern Conference version and look at each Eastern Conference team and what is one big hole that they needs to fill for this upcoming season. And we start off with Austin FC, and their big hole that they need to solve is the back line. I mean, the back line of this team is the weakest part of this team, and is really kind of what's holding back of this team to be a MLS Cup contender. Well, actually, non-MLS Cup contender. That's a little bit too big of an expectation for a team that's only into the league in their second season, but more like just a playoff contender. And if they can fix that back line, then this definitely could be a playoff contender, because they definitely have playoff material kind of quality in the rest of the squad in the midfield and also in the attack. But like I said, the back line is just kind of what's holding this team back, and that's something that I expect them to maybe address as the season goes along. I mean, they did address it this off season, so let's see what they're going to do heading into next season. For Colorado, the number 9. I mean, this is possibly the biggest hole that this team has had, and one of the biggest talking line for this Rapids team, where they just haven't been able to find a number 9, and a lot of that has to do with the lack of funds that they have in terms of finding a number 9, which, for a team that is considered one of the lowest spending team, and the team that has the lowest budget in the league, this is not a big surprise that they aren't able to find that true potent DP level number 9. But that being said, it doesn't stop the fact that Rapids fans are very frustrated with this front office, and just frustrated with the way that they have built such a good team, and they really kind of have done well in this Moneyball approach, but they just cannot able to really get into the next level unless if they started to sign some DP quality player and actually spend some money. I mean, spending is kind of what is restricted from this team, and the number 9 position is the area that if they want to get to that next level and be an MLS Cup contender in the West, they need to have that. FC Dallas. I guess the back line too, because they when you look at this team, it's a team that they definitely made some signings this offseason and splashed the cash by bringing Paul Arriola and Alan Velasco to improve their attack. Their midfield is also not too bad, but the back line is still going to be an issue. I mean, last season, I think a lot of the big reason why Dallas had really struggled was because the back line was terrible. Like, this team has conceded some of the most goals in the league, and this offseason, it doesn't seem like they have really made some signing to improve that. So again, just like what I said about Austin, for FC Dallas, what's holding them back is just the bad back line of them being a playoff cup contender. For the Houston Dynamo, there's actually a lot of holes the Dynamo needs to face, because they're going through stage 1 of this deep rebuild, and they try to once again put some placeholder to get this rebuild off to a good start. But I guess I want to say a number 10, because I don't think the guy that they signed this off season, Sebastian Ferreira, can play in that number 10 spot. In fact, I'll just put it there. Yeah, they need a number 10 in a way where they kind of lack that. I mean, obviously Darwin Quintero is their main number 10, but he started to get to that point of his career where he is clearly washed up, and that I think there's also some Dynamo fans that kind of surprised that they decided not to cut ties with him this off season. Now, don't get me wrong, he's still a quality player, but is he going to be that number 10 that what we saw a couple of years ago with Minnesota? No. So yeah, that's one big hole that they need to fill. But in general, there's a lot of things that they need to change for this team because of the way that this roster that is constructed. It's gonna take time for this new ownership and Pat Onstead, the new GM, to really start to clean up the mess that the last ownership group and the last GM basically made a mess of this team. For the LA Galaxy, I guess, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's really the back line again, where I really don't want to say that it's the back line, because that just sounds very easy to talk about, since I've always mentioned the Galaxy backline has been just hot garbage for the past couple of years. But it's kind of true in some way that they need to, of course, improve the backline of this team. I mean, I guess maybe their hole that they need to fill is to maybe find that number 10 that they've been looking for. And again, they've been trying to, well, they kind of did that with Douglas Costa, but Douglas Costa is a winger, so they technically still haven't really found the answer. And I've also heard that they want to bring back Christian Pavone back to this team, but those rumors has been it's been on and off too. There's been times where it seems like it's going to happen, and now all of a sudden it seems like it's not going to happen. But again, the backline is the big issue with this team, where it's still not a backline that you're going to say that is going to do much, and kind of just being kind of a playoff contending kind of backline we see from this Galaxy team. For LAFC, their big hole is depth. So again, on paper, when you look at this team, when they feel their strongest starting 11, it's an MLS Cup contender. But the problem is they haven't had a chance to field their best starting 11 for a while now, and a lot of that has to do with either one of their players being injured. And I know for sure that for this upcoming season, they still won't be able to fill their best 11, because there's still some players that suffer long-term injury from last season that is still trying to get back from it. But yeah, that's also brings me to the point that they still need some more depth, whether it's on the defense, in the midfield, or even on the attack, and we'll see whether they can, of course, fill that in as the season goes along. For Minnesota, I mean, this is pretty obvious. It's the number 9 position. Again, I know I've said before in the season preview not long ago that, bring Almeria back to this team alongside with Reynoso being here, and also Adrian Hunou looks like he might have turned a corner, at least from what we saw in the latter part of last season. It seems like the attack might have fixed, but there's just something tells me that might not be the case, and that, again, I really want to see a number 9 on this team that can be that proven goal scorer. Heck, I would say I want to see anybody on this attack, whether anybody besides Robin Lod, to be the guy that is going to be a lethal goal scorer for this team, because that's what's missing for this team. Like, this team is a very, very good squad, and could be an MLS Cup contender if they can actually find a number 9 that can bang in like 10 or 15 plus goal a season. For Nashville SC, so I think I mentioned this not long ago, because I did a season preview for them today, and I'll reiterate what I said, which is, I guess they need some more depth in terms of the fullback position, and replacing, not really replacing Alistair Johnston, because I did mention that Alex Mule was probably going to be in place in this, but they might need some more depth in terms of that position, especially they lost one of their more important defensive piece with Alistair Johnston going to Montreal. But overall, there really isn't a lot of hope that this Nashville team has had, and this is also probably one of the toughest teams that I had to think of in terms of a team that has a roster hole that they need to fill for the upcoming season. But now we're gonna go to the Portland Timbers. It's the goalkeeping. I mean, losing Steve Clark, that's definitely tough for them. But now there's that question of, who are they going to go with the starting goalkeeper? I mean, it's either between Ivicic or David Bingham. And from what I heard from the Timbers, it seemed like they're going to go with Bingham as the starting goalkeeper, which, as a Quakes fan, I'm giving you a warning, Timbers fan, of David Bingham, of the fact that, he has not been he has really fell off a cliff in these past couple of seasons, and to trust a goalkeeper that hasn't really been playing for 2 years. Yeah, it's a big risk to have. Now watch how David Bingham is going to do well with the Timbers and gonna piss Quakes fans even more that he decided to join a conference rival. But yeah, goalkeeping is a big issue that this team has had. And again, for me, I would say that they should have maybe give Ivicic the spot instead of Bingham, because even though I know Ivicic could be inconsistent at time, when he stepped in last year in replace of Steve Clark, there's been times that he had an incredible game, and just kind of makes me wonder why he hasn't really been the starting goalkeeper of this team. Well, again, a lot of that has to do with Steve Clark basically owns that spot, but now he's gone. I'm assuming he basically inherit that spot, because he could really be a good starting goalkeeper for other teams. So yeah, we'll see how that goalkeeping spot is going to work out for this Timbers team. But now moving to RSL, I guess whoever replaced Albert Rusnak. So again, they still haven't really have a replacement for Rusnak, but I'm assuming they're going to do so. I mean, again, I mentioned before in the season preview of RSL that this new ownership and this new front office, it's going to take time for them to get the resources and start to maybe spend some money to replace their big DP player that went to the Seattle Sounders. But as of now, they still haven't had that replacement, and they're definitely looking to do so. I mean, they even said it too. Like, that was kind of like one of the first thing that they said when they lost Albert Rusnak to Seattle, that they're definitely looking into trying to find a replacement for him. And I think that's one spot that, out of all these holes, I think this is one of the area that is the most likely that is going to be filled for this upcoming season. For the San Jose Earthquakes, it's the fullback position. And it's not just the fullback position, but it's more like fullback depth. And I guess maybe I should say the same thing about Nashville, because Nashville doesn't really have a lot of issue with their starting fullback, but it's just their depth, and it's the same case with the Quakes. I mean, I guess, originally I was going to say the back line was a big concern, because, besides Tanner Beeson and Nathan in that center back partnership, there really isn't any other good, decent center back besides maybe they getting Francesco Calvo was part of one of their depth signing. But then you also look in the fullback position. I mean, they lost a couple of pieces in the fullback position. I mean, Marcus Lopez, he's like the only guy that is a good, decent, quality fullback in that left back spot. And then on the right back, Tommy Thompson is gonna have to be in that spot. And I mean, he hasn't really been that good in terms of that position ever since Almeida has showed up. So that's definitely a concern for this team, and it doesn't help the fact that this team just keeps signing midfielder. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have signed some really decent midfielder. I mean, I've just recently heard that they, of course, got Jamiro Montero from the Philadelphia Union, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in my news of the week tomorrow. But I think that is an absolute steal that the Quakes just got for such a quality and underrated number 10 in this league. But yeah, it would be nice if the Quakes can maybe also think about adjusting the issue that they had in the fullback area, where it's just it feels like this is where we're going back to what the issue that this team has had for the past couple of years, a couple of years ago, where it feels like every year between like 2017 all the way to 2020, the fullback is always the one area that, or actually not even, this is not even before 2017. I would go back to 2015 to around 2020, that's always been the problem that this Quakes team had, where we just never have a good, decent fullback, and it seems like we're back to that problem again, but only this time we just don't have enough depth in terms of that spot. The Seattle Sounders. Speaking of depth, that's kind of the only thing that they need to worry about, where, again, this is kind of similar to LAFC, where when you put out the best starting 11, this is an MLS Cup contender. Heck, maybe even an MLS Cup winner, with the way that they have arguably the best starting 11 in the entire league. But then when you get to the depth department of this team. You know, last season, I think when you saw some of those best players went down with injury, you know, there's at times they have at least shown that they have decent depth, and those guys that are like second in line, they can step in and still do well. But then as the season goes along and with more injuries that they suffer, it started to kind of take a toll on this team and start to feel like maybe the depth that they had might not be as good as what we thought it was. So that's one area that I think they maybe could address, though again, you know, maybe not, because they trust the fact that their depth last season, even though as this year goes along it started to kind of dwindle away, it will basically improve for this upcoming season. For Sporting KC, this is obvious. It's the number 9 position. Again, this has been the big talking point ever since Alan Pulido went out, or ever since he, of course, suffered a season-ending injury and has to go to do a knee surgery that basically end his season. And again, you know, we'll see whether or not if Sporting KC can get that number 9 throughout the season, because again, that's kind of the thing that's holding back this team to be an MLS Cup contender. I mean, maybe you could also say the back line might need to improve a little bit, because I still think that defense last season, even though it did show some improvement, it's still not at a level where you can say that they are kind of the favorites of being the team representing the West out of MLS Cup. But now they have that new issue with the number 9 position, and we'll see whether or not if they can bring in not really just a replacement for Pulido, because you know it's almost impossible to try to replace a guy that we know he's a 10 to 15 plus goal scorer, but at least a placeholder there to at least get a decent number 9 that can score the goal for them and kind of put the pressure off of Johnny Russell and Daniel Sherry in terms of the goal score department for this Sporting KC team. And then lastly, the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's the goalkeeping. So again, it's unfortunate that they lost Maxime Crépeau this offseason. And, you know, I've said before, I do rate Thomas Hasel, and I think he's going to be a very decent goalkeeper in this league. But at the same time, I feel like he's not ready yet. I think maybe I would say he might need another year or two of mentor before he take over that starting goalkeeper spot. And now with inexplicably Crépeau leaving this team, I mean, you know, Thomas Hasel is basically now getting himself into the deep end. And I'm not saying that he can be a guy that it could be a decent goalkeeper in this league. I'm just basically saying that I think it's too early to kind of throw him in the deep end, and especially during the time last season we have to fill in for Crépeau. He definitely did not show the same kind of quality that we saw in the MLS Sc tournament that basically make him like a hero to this Vancouver Whitecaps team. So yeah, again, I feel like it's a bit of a downgrade that now they have Thomas Hasel, and that you know, I know he is going to eventually be a decent goalkeeper, but not now. I think I was kind of maybe a little bit surprised that they decided not to sign another decent goalkeeper, and there are some still left in the market and kind of flowing there where the Whitecaps can definitely sign him and make him as the starting goalkeeper with Hasel backing them up. But yeah, either way, that is pretty much it in terms of looking at every Western Conference team and a roster hole that they need to, of course, fill. Let me know in the comments below, do you agree with that? And let me know in the comments below if you think your team might have another issue with your roster or a roster hole to need to fill up that I didn't write here on the board. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.